Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 8122 Northeast Wygant Street here in Portland. We are located at the front of the house. This is the part of the house that actually faces out towards the street, right? I'm referring to this as the front anyway. The front door is actually kind of on the right side of the home as you face the property from the roadway. Anyway, we're at the front left corner. Again, described as if you're standing in the street facing into the property. We're about 5 feet in from the corner, big 4-inch ABS cleanout sticking out of the ground. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running, and we're going to zero the foot counter out here at the base of the cleanout. Off we go. And right out of the gate, that is a spiffy clean flow line. That is precisely how you want your sewer line to look right there. We just swapped over there a moment ago over to 6-inch 3034 PVC. We're now getting into a spot here with some standing water. There's also some debris in the line. We will locate this at the end here and see, to what extent that thing is on property or in the roadway. We'll revisit that here in a moment. There's some gunk in the pipe there I'm going to try and clear out with some toilet flushes. And, an important factor, I've been doing this for 13 years, and the way I look at a lot of these things is, I would have never guessed in a million years there was going to be anything up ahead considering the cleanliness of the sewer line. And that is a factor in things. If all the pipe is remaining clean and clear, what that tells you, and that belly even has some buildup in it. From that standpoint, that belly does not appear to be causing any kind of significant flow issues, but we will revisit it here in a moment and take another look at it once the line's drained out. But anyway, we reached the main lateral connection here. I'm going to get my camera lens cleaned up. There's some gunk there a second ago. And it looks like we are tying right into the manhole out in the street. So we're going to shut the water off here, let the pipe drain out. We're going to go locate, then we'll take another look at everything here in a minute. All right, located the camera head successfully. Line terminates out on Northeast Wygant Street. The line does a little bit of a jog through the yard. It starts to veer toward the driveway, but it turns and straightens out long before it gets there. The line makes its way out to the street through the front yard entirely. And there's a manhole. It's not straight out from the clean out. It's out from the clean out and offset by maybe 5-8 feet or so, 10 feet. You'll see it out there in the street. Right in front of the house, manhole with about 20 vent holes in the top of it and kind of a diamond-shaped patch around it. That's right where the line ties into the main. It looks like the line here is just about all drained. I did a couple toilet flushes and got the bathtub rip roar in there just to help get some debris out of the line. Sometimes these houses sit vacant for a while. What a lot of folks don't realize, especially with low-flow toilets, that aren't putting a lot of water down line, is you're lucky if those solids that get flushed down a toilet are making it 20 feet or so before stopping up. It takes a conjunction of toilet flushes, showers draining, sinks draining. All that different water flow helps to convey solids from point A to point B. So when a house goes vacant, sometimes debris that would otherwise make it through the line just hangs up, especially if there's some area in the line where you've got a belly in this circumstance. We're going to take a look at that right now. That little stringy item there at the top of the pipe, that was just a cobweb there. So the belly here dissipates off at about 39 feet. We'll pull back here to the beginning of it and just locate where it starts. Yeah, this spot's kind of a hard one here. With enough water flow going to the line, it's very, very possible that that will flush all that junk out of the pipe. As you can see, the top of the pipe and the sidewalls of the sewer line here are spotless. There's zero debris buildup. You've got some stuff sitting in the water, but that's not debris buildup. Buildup is when you start getting thick junk on the sidewalls, and even more concerning when you get it hanging from the top of the pipe, which would indicate that the belly has actually led to a blockage in the past. So, which just shows zero signs of it, and I really would not expect to see that. You know, bellies in plastic sewer lines are a very different animal from bellies in, let's say, cast iron or concrete that have rough pipe walls. That smooth plastic pipe does a great deal to mitigate buildup, even when you have imperfections in the sewer line like this. So I'm going to go locate and see where it's at, but based upon the debris evidence that's in here, you know, there's realistically, when I get into the water here, this kind of creates for a scarier visual than what you really have. The sidewalls and all the pipe leading up to the belly is what tells you the story. And at the end of the day, this belly is really not a terribly significant one. It's probably about 5 feet in length here. So I'm going to pull back here for a moment. We'll locate that. But, you know, what I am going to recommend is a cleaning, just to blast that out of the pipe. What I can't tell right now is if someone, you know, in the process of getting the place ready for sale, sometimes cleaners will come through. It's a little bit longer than 5 feet. It runs from about 31 feet to 39 feet. At its worst point here, and it's hard to tell right now when you get this much buildup, or not this much buildup, but this much debris sitting in the belly. I can tell what I'm bumping into here. It feels like a wad of, it's either a big ball of toilet paper or potentially wipes. And that's the stuff that really has a hard time conveying through a belly as improper items. So this is one where I'd like to see the thing cleared out, bring it back down to base here. All right, just located the camera head there. I turned some water back on here for just a second, just to see if I can push whatever this is through here. But what I was getting at about measuring the depth of water, when you've got a big hunk of junk sitting in the water like this, it will displace the water and actually make it look deeper than it is in reality. But you've got somewhere around, at its worst point, probably about 2 inches of standing water. And I just located, so the belly starts right about where the for sale signpost is at, or very close to in line with that. So you've got, and I'll push back out here and locate the end of it, but it looks like you've got about somewhere around half of it on property, the other half of it is off of property. And my camera just kind of got stuck on something there. This is almost feeling like there's an object in here. It feels less like, I'm not sure how to describe that. My camera just snagged on something as I pulled back through there. That's making me feel like what you've got in here is not toilet paper debris. It could be something else. An object may have got down line. Your camera won't hang up on toilet paper like that. So that's, I'm even more inclined now to recommend jetting on this thing. So anyway, I'm going to let the pipe drain off here for a second and see if that helps clear things out. Maybe we'll get a better view, but now that my camera just snagged up on something, I would really like to see this cleaned out just to make sure you don't have some object sitting in the pipe here, some hard obstructive object that's going to cause debris to hang up. Alrighty, just turn the water off there. Let's see if we got enough junk cleared out of this thing here to see what's going on. And the hard part is whatever the sediment is that's in here, it's, the minute I start going through it, it starts to stir up. It's really hard to get a view. And unfortunately, I'm not going to get a good enough view here to tell what's going on. So I would recommend jetting, get this thing good and clean, get all the junk out of it, and re-scope. What it feels like to me, I've been through that spot enough times now, problem-free. That last time I went to pull back through there, my camera snagged up on something, which feels more like you may have an object in the line. The only other possibility, and it's fairly uncommon with plastic pipe like this, unless you've got a joint right in the middle of the belly. Sometimes when pipe bellies out enough, it can cause the joints to kind of separate and become somewhat offset with each other, and you can end up with something that kind of a lip on a pipe joint that can grab the camera head. So it might have been this spot right here, honestly, that grabbed me. It just, the first time I went through this, or almost every time prior to this, my camera has had no issue going over that joint. There's barely any edge on that thing at all. But what's in there right now, it looks like it almost has the appearance of paint, caulk, something of that nature. So anyhow, I'm going to push back out here to the end of it just to locate it, but it looks like part of it's in the street, part of it's on property. Realistically, you know, unless there's some kind of structural issue with the line here that I can't see right now, this is not a belly I would typically recommend repairs on anyway. Where it's positioned this far from the home in large diameter plastic pipe like this, bellies of this nature, after 25,000 scopes, 13 years of doing this, they cause problems when the homeowner abuses the sewer line. It's, you know, when you're putting wipes, paper towels, stuff like that down the pipe and doing it on a consistent basis, that's where a spot like this could ever lead to a problem. You're in large diameter 6-inch pipe here. This is as big as it gets for residential purposes. And unfortunately, you can't fix half a belly even if you wanted to try and fix it. The other half, it's in city territory. You can try and do that, but you'll never get the belly fully corrected. And what you end up doing is shifting the belly down line, and you'll turn the end of the belly that's generally minor into a much more significant amount of standing water. So it's really not worth messing with unless you can do the entire thing at once. And the belly there gets about, we're about 3.5 feet or so into the roadway there. Anyhow, recommend a, once again, thorough cleaning and a rescope just to show that the line was indeed cleaned out properly and thoroughly. To make sure that there's nothing underlying there beyond just being a belly. Realistically, I don't think there is. It looks like it's just a belly, but I think there's some kind of debris or object or something in and amongst it. Anyway, this pipe right here prior to the belly, this is what tells you the story of everything. I mean, you get debris sticking to the sidewalls and the top of the pipe leading all the way back to the house and to the inside of the home. That's what tells you if a situation has ever actually led to a backup. And the way you keep your line this clean, I mean, that debris that's out in the belly feels like an oddity. It feels like stuff that the homeowner would not have usually put down the sewer line, because you don't get lines this clean unless you are tending to them and mindful of what's going down line. Your pipe stays this clean by pretty much one living habit, and that's not putting greases, fats, and oils down your kitchen sink drain. And I highly recommend keeping up that same exact habit. You let your pans cool down, wipe them out with a paper towel, pour the grease into a jar. You just want to keep them from going down line. And that right there is where we hit the end of the line. That's the vent stack. If you can see the end of it, we'd be looking up at the sky right now through the roof vent. Superbly clean sewer line. And this line does not show signs or evidence that it's been jetted or cleaned preemptively for the sale. The reason I can usually tell that is somewhere in the line, even if you were to jet backwards and clean everything up, the one spot that almost no one ever cleans, one, interior pipe is very rare to clean when someone jets a line preemptively. But two, where the kitchen sink drain ties into the sewer line, that spot right there, the jetter usually won't even touch it at all, and you're always going to have a Y connection coming into the pipe that's got a whole bunch of grease sitting inside of it, and that kind of gives you a clue that the line has been cleaned. So this does not show any signs of that. So this is how clean this line has remained under these conditions. So anyway, unless there is some kind of break in the line in that belly or something of that nature, barring that, we got to assess that during a rescope. This is not one I would recommend doing repairs on. This one all comes down to how you treat the sewer line. At the distances that belly is from the house, if you could even theoretically, get a blockage to form there, you've got to fill up about 31, 32 feet of pipe just to get back to the house. And probably another 10, 15, 20 feet. There's not a lot of plumbing fixtures in here. It looks like a single bath house. You've got to get way back into the house, probably another 20 feet before you start meeting up with your first fixture. That creates a lot of head pressure. That's the water weight that builds up behind a blockage. And that head pressure often will knock just about any blockage through that's made out of proper items, like toilet paper, for instance. Wipes, paper towels, things like that are a different animal. They're not intended to go down your line. They can withstand a lot of head pressure, mostly because they don't disintegrate on their own. So everything outside the belly, all that pipe looks great, intact, super clean, has good flow. Overall, again, assuming there is no break or anything like that in the belly, the line will certainly have adequate flow to the main lateral after cleaning. But we'll have to have a look at it at that point.